What's going on is Dr. Ben Glass. I'm a chiropractor, and I'm just here to shine a light on the path to becoming a chiropractor because I think that there is just so much that goes into the process. So today I'm connecting with a friend, fellow chiropractor, Dr. David Lamson out in Colorado. Dr. David, thank you so much for taking some time to share with any prospective students out there about your journey. And can we just get us started by you introducing yourself and reflecting back on what it was that kind of attracted you to becoming a chiropractor, where you were at in life at that moment?
Morning, Ben. Thanks for being here. My journey really started probably when I was in high school. I kept getting sick, and I kept going to the doctor, and I kept getting antibiotics, and that kept happening years and years. And I'd be sick and then I'd get bronchitis, and then that would go into my lungs, and I was like a fairly healthy kid, but I kept getting sick all the time and kept getting sinus infections and asthma and allergies and I was kind of just frustrated. And I had a fairly holistic family. And so after years and years of that happening, I finally went to the doctor and said, "Hey, doc, you keep giving me antibiotics. Is there anything I can do? Can I change my diet? Um, can I, do things that will help prevent me from getting sick like this?" And he said, "Oh, well, nutrition has no impact on your health. And the next step we're going to do is we're going to drill larger holes into your sinuses." And I was in seventh grade, and I thought that's crazy. And so we actually lived kind of close to Bastyr University, which is a famous naturopathic college. And so I actually um, was introduced to this chiropractor, Eric Kloss, who a friend went to, and they said, "Just go to this chiropractor." And so we just went, and I started going to his classes, and he had these great kind of educational classes at night. And so I went to them, and I was so excited about them because he was talking about cancer. He was talking about allergies and asthma and all these things. And I started changing my diet just a little bit, just, avoiding dairy and things that cause mucus. And then I started getting adjusted, and I stopped getting these allergies. My asthma started to go away. My asthma attacks started to go away. It was so revolutionary. I was like, this is amazing. How come the best doctor, pediatrician in Seattle, doesn't know anything about nutrition and doesn't know anything about kind of preventative? And so I was like telling all my friends about this. I was inviting them to this class, and I was like, this is incredible. But I was also dyslexic. And so I had a really hard time with school and with testing. And so, I was kind of hesitant about going to a master's program that involved a lot of testing. And so it really wasn't till later in life that I decided to go back to school and kind of overcome that limiting belief and become a chiropractor. But I really wanted to be a chiropractor out of high school, but it wasn't until kind of years later that I went back to school and kind of overcame that. And that is interesting when I was kind of reintroduced to chiropractic, because I kind of got this, my interest was really in herbalism and things like that from this chiropractor, which is great. But it really wasn't until later that I really found the power of chiropractic through Fred Barge and Reggie Gold. And I started listening to some of these audio during the real estate crash of 2008. And I was like, wow, this is such an amazing mechanism for healing. And it really is the most powerful mechanism because it's really working with the body's ability to heal. And, herbs, nutrition, all these things are amazing. But, the nervous system, which controls everything, is one thing that really, it literally is so powerful, and it's so neglected, and it's never really checked. And so chiropractic is so amazing in my view, because it's one of the one things that really focuses on the neurology. And so from that stance, I kind of really fell in love with chiropractic, and then said, okay, I can do this. I'm in. And I went back to school, and it was kind of that downturn was kind of a point for me to come back into school. And that's where I met you. And that's kind of where
We're going to get into that. We're going to get into that. So you touched on Fred Barge and Reggie Gold. These are characters that I would love pre-Chiro students to get connected with, to get introduced to. Were there any specific tapes that you remember, any specific talks that you remember, or books? Because they did write books that really turned the light on for you of what chiropractic was about. I'm just curious.
Um, you know, let's see. I think Fred Barge. It's You're the Doctor. I forget the other names of his books, but he just read anything you can get your hands on by them.
Mm-hmm.
If you can go to a chiropractic school, if you can meet a chiropractor, go ask them for some books,
Okay.
give them back, but go shadow some doctors in your area or travel to area. I mean, that was another thing is I um, I was on a river trip in Idaho and I met this cool doctor this was at a time when I was kind of thinking about school and going back to chiropractic school, and I met this guy who basically could be retired, and he was just so excited about chiropractic, and he said, "Hey, David, come with me to this practice management seminar. I'll host you." And he like hosted me, and he told me about his practice, and he had just basically a small practice, but he was killing it. He was so busy, and he told me how busy he was, and I was like, yeah, right. and and I went to go shadow him, and like in half a day, I think he saw about, I don't know, almost 100 people in a half a day, and I was like, "What?" And it didn't seem, when I heard that, I was like, "Oh, that's a scam. He's not helping people." Whatever. I was just skeptical of that, and then I went there, and like people were getting off heroin, they were addicted to opioids, and they were getting off those drugs. They were having miraculous, amazing experience. Their headaches were going away. I mean, life changing things were happening in their health, and
Mm-hmm.
he was just very efficient with his time.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was the first time I really got to see kind of a high volume practice, and
Mm-hmm.
that was very cool just to kind of see that. And it really opened my eyes, because we have this idea, or I had this idea that, you know um, you have to spend time with someone to have a bigger impact. And the powerful thing about chiropractic is that it can be a spark in, a couple minutes. You can make a huge transformation on the body to make a huge change in their life and in their health.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was a really cool experience.
Can you kind of reflect back on your time in school, like transitioning to school? You said you went back to school. What were you doing before you went back to school? And how did you leverage the skills that you gained in the real world to be successful as a chiropractic student?
Sure. So I really have a crazy kind of background. I've kind of done everything. I mean, I've when I got out of college, it was 2001, so it was a dot-com crash. It was very difficult to find kind of work in Seattle, and so at that point, I had a friend who was teaching skiing in the Alps, and that sounded pretty cool. And so I went to the Alps for about a year and taught skiing, and then I ended up falling in love with this woman in Spain, and started living in Barcelona, and ended up starting a backpackers inn. And it was kind of one of the early Airbnbs before Airbnb exists. And I teamed up with this guy who owned a few flats in Barcelona, and we started this business. And I was in charge of marketing. And because I spoke Spanish and English, I was able to do that, and it was a great lifestyle. It was super fun. And then I came back, and I ended up kind of getting into real estate, and ended up working with this company that sold $1 billion in commercial real estate every year. It was one of the largest commercial apartment building uh, companies in Denver, and these two guys were really kind of powerhouses. And I ended up working with them kind of as a researcher, and then became a broker with that company. But it was also kind of one of the more difficult times in real estate for kind of a starting out broker, because nothing was selling except for the kind of high end commercial property. So I was kind of working and kind of struggling a little bit, but in this great company. And so I was kind of doing that, and I loved it. And then we kind of had, I think 2008 or 9 hit, and like everything just stopped. All my deals which were about to go through, just kind of stopped flat, and nothing was selling. And so at that point, it was kind of my time for recollection. And I was kind of thinking, okay, what do I want to do long term with my life?
Mm-hmm.
And so at that point, I thought this is actually a great moment while this downturn's happening to go back to school. And that was when I pulled the trigger on going back to chiropractic school.
Mm-hmm. And like those skills that just entering into markets, entering into new environments, and not having things being easy, having to really work your way, work hard, like going into chiropractic school. Can you describe what that experience was like? It was a new environment. Obviously, there's lots of classes. It's very challenging. What are some of the challenges you encountered? What were some of the surprises that you might have faced? And how did you kind of adapt?
Yeah. So, going back to school, I kind of mentioned that I had struggled with dyslexia and test taking. So, I think I was definitely nervous about going back to school and those types of things. It was definitely a transition. The community at Life West was amazing. I mean, the people were amazing. The support was incredible. Um, I think I was kind of a little bit of a hustler. I was used to being in different countries, and so I was really good at networking and doing and meeting people. And as someone, for people coming into chiropractic, this is such a great time to just meet as many people as you can, read as many books as you can. I mentioned Reggie Gold, read everything he's done, listen to everything he's done, Fred Barge. Um, there's just some great people, but so I did a lot of that. I read books that basically kind of talked about healing, chiropractic, and I just immersed myself in that. And I listened to as much audio as I could, and that was really, I think, the thing that kind of helped me have that kind of core, because um, there is a lot of stuff, hoops you have to jump through when you're going through school. So there's a lot of like really inspiring stuff about chiropractic, and then in the day in and out of school, you're doing things that maybe don't seem aligned, but if you're having that philosophy, you can kind of tie it back. And my sister's also a chiropractor, so she told me before I went to school, a lot of times, um, school has nothing to do with chiropractic, but just remember you're going to come back to that. And so I had that kind of idea that, hey, get as much as I can from school, but also be steeped in kind of the chiropractic and with real chiropractors and in the philosophy of chiropractic. And so that's kind of how I went through it.
Can you kind of reflect on your involvement with the fraternity and how that kept you anchored to the principles, and really when you started the fraternity, and what impact it had on your experience at school?
Sure. Yeah. You know, I um, I have never been into fraternities, and so but I did decide to join the fraternity at Life West, and 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 just because I wanted to kind of be a part of a community and be a part of something, and I think the fraternity just has an amazing lineage of people, of practitioners out there. It's an amazing kind of support network of people that are steeped in kind of the tradition and philosophy. And I mean, chiropractic, people were getting jailed. um, Even the other day I have a client who her husband was, he helped legalize chiropractic in their state. And so
Mhm.
that's not that distant history. And so the fraternity was really kind of this support network for chiropractors that came about to help keep chiropractic alive, because there was really a push against the medical establishment because we were taking market share, and we were kind of threatening doctors in some way
Mhm.
to cut us out. And there's a great book on that. But the fraternity really was established to kind of help keep that protection of the philosophy and keep chiropractic strong.
Mhm.
Um, because there is this push to kind of like medicalize or whatever you want, and also dilute what chiropractic is, which is
Mhm.
this beautiful philosophy and system of approaching the body.
Mhm. Do you remember what the name of that book was that you were just referencing, that described the history of chiropractic and how chiropractors were jailed, and the struggle throughout the years?
I think it's the Wilkes case. So if you just look up Wilkes case, there's actually a few books on the Wilkes case, and they read like a crime novel. They're extremely like thrilling. I mean, there's kind of spying. There's espionage, there's murder, I mean, it's fascinating.
Mm.
And the whole term quack kind of came out of that, of MDs trying to belittle chiropractors and calling them quacks, calling them unscientific, and literally trying to take us out of the game.
Mhm.
And even if you understand that, you understand how that also bled into acupuncture and herbalism, and in terms of licensing power. And that was the thing that I got from Fred Barge, was he said, we chiropractors live in this amazing world. Like, we are kind of like modern day shaman in some way, in terms of how, like, the option, or the power that we have to work with the body via subluxation, and that interference in the neurology is so powerful, because no one else really has that latitude to be able to work kind of on anything like we do. It's kind of amazing. Like, acupuncturists are definitely treading on kind of like very fragile ground in some ways with their licenses. Same with naturopath, and that's why they don't speak out on a lot of issues that are kind of more controversial in some ways.
Mm. Can you kind of expand on that? What do you mean by that? Like, how are how is choosing to become a chiropractor different from choosing to become an acupuncturist or a naturopath? I mean, all of them have been marketed and branded as alternative healthcare, alternative medicine. Can you kind of build context around how chiropractic is not what it's been branded to be, and sort of some of the misperceptions or misconceptions around chiropractic?
Um, sure. So, I mean, there's kind of this branding that's happened as, um, let's let's only address things that have really deep research. Like, and so if we only look at like the things that we have double-blinded studies, or advanced studies on, we're going to only be able to address things like neck pain and low back pain. We're not going to be able to address children and kids, and which has such a huge impact on. And so, if we kind of, and obviously there's a need for research and science, but um, limiting things to only being kind of evidence based can be a limiting factor, um, because the body is so complex. It's not like there's an adjustment for tinnitus, even though adjusting the upper cervical can impact tinnitus. And,
Mhm.
every chiropractor probably has stories of, you know, addressing people with severe tinnitus or headaches. But the body has its own kind of priorities. And sometimes you adjust the upper atlas and, things shift, or someone with tinnitus, has a life changing thing.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's a subtle change. That's the kind of mysterious part of chiropractic, is that it's not like, okay, I touch this and then this happens. It's the body has its own kind of priorities, and the neurology does kind of correlate to certain areas, but at the same time, it also has kind of a mysterious thing, and there's kind of rules and guidelines, but the everybody is completely unique, and so um, I think being a chiropractor, you have to kind of be able to kind of be flexible on that kind of mystery of the human body, in my mind.
Mhm.
I don't know
Can
if
you
that answered your question, but
it's all good. It's all very relevant. And, right now we're talking with people who haven't even gotten to chiropractic school yet. So we're really just trying to continue to shine a light on how chiropractors think, what our views are, how we see things. Can you kind of talk about what your specific personal focus was in regards to like what you were interested in going through school and even graduating from school, like which techniques or which specific trainings, which mentors you really aligned with, and where your particular path led you.
sure. So, I told you that I had this original Dr. Eric Kloss, he was really into kind of functional med, nutrition, chiropractic, and so I kind of came from that. And then, I had my sister, who she's like a pediatric chiropractor, and so she works with a lot of kids, which I really loved the idea of working with kids and families. And I saw kind of the changes that went on with, pregnant moms and babies and earaches and all those kinds of things. So I was really excited about that. So I wanted to be someone who worked with kids and families. And then I kind of went to I went to so many different clubs. And I think I encourage people to just like become an expert, like just declare like I'm going to become an expert. Don't wait for your degree to become an expert in something. Like the sooner you start declaring that, the better. And so I went to pediatrics, I went to BGI. Sue Brown is amazing. She came out of kind of network and looked at kind of the sacred geometry of the body, and which can be applied to kind of any technique. People kind of get fixated in these techniques, and I think that that's fine, but just like and different techniques are going to kind of dictate in a certain way what types of people come to you. So if you're super analytical, you might find something that's really analytical like that, and then attract those types of people. Or think about what kind of lifestyle you want to have, what kind of people you want to be interacting with. There's the book Yourself Solid, which is a great book. I'm sure you've mentioned that, but one of his main things is firing patients that are energy drains, because you're going to attract more people if you get rid of some of those people that are energy drains to you. And so just finding out, who do you like spending your time with? How do you like spending your day? What are the types of people? Are they active people? Are they people that are really complex cases? Like how do you like spending your time, and really focusing on that. But being steeped in the philosophy, because the philosophy is going to help guide you making those choices of when you do have cases in your office and you have to kind of decide, well, what do I do with this particular case? Do I try to treat this, or am I just finding out where there's interference, adjusting that, and letting the body heal?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I was going to ask you to reflect on kind of how your practice got started and how it's evolved over time. What's changed? Where's it at right now? How would you describe it to somebody?
So I would say I kind of think that we're in this like technology driven age. And so there's so much technology that people are exposed to. And I kind of liken it to the Matrix, going back to the Oracle, and that kind of like homemade oatmeal cookie that, that there's kind of like that craving towards, just being touched by another human person, getting hands on, having connection. It's not a medical office. It's very kind of clean office, lots of beautiful art, lots of light. So you walk in and you feel like, wow, welcome. And it's really about vitality. It's not about like what's wrong with you. It's about, how to kind of go into what's right with you. And so my office is really fun, and I work with amazing people and see, from complex cases to simple cases to kids to 95-year-olds. It's kind of an open adjusting. So I have 4 tables. So, I'll work on a couple people at a time. And I think there is a healing element to having multiple people on the table, and one person's healing journey amazingly can help another person. And even just being on the table and being present in your body, there is kind of a, I don't like using the word quantum because it's so overused, but there is this kind of overlay that happens where people can expand from other people's healing journeys. And so that's a little bit kind of what my office is like. It's about kind of stepping on that journey, reconnecting with self and reconnecting with health and vitality and vibrance, because I think that's what chiropractic is so good at. It's not about what's wrong with you. It's about connecting to what's right, and to helping the body through whatever processes your body needs to go through.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Can you kind of talk about how your lifestyle is allowing for you to be maybe present with your kid, or allow for you to do the things that you love while still being in practice, and just kind of describing what it's like to be an entrepreneur and to design the schedule that you really like to have for the lifestyle that you like to design?
Sure. I mean, um, we chiropractors really have an amazing opportunity to be able to have an incredible schedule. Um, and so my schedule is, I kind of work in the morning, and I kind of have kind of an intensive couple hours in the morning, and then I have, a couple hour break
Mhm.
where I can do back end stuff, or I can go mountain biking, or I can go skiing. And I live in beautiful Colorado and Durango, and so I mean, it's just awesome. I love being outside, so I spend as much time outside with my son, or mountain biking, or skiing, and so it affords me that ability to do that. And then I come back in the afternoon, and see people in the afternoon, and then I work. Kind of, I have Wednesday off, and then half day Friday. So, which is, I love having half day Friday because it's just really nice to be able to like take off midday and serve people in the morning, um, and then go spend time with family and be outside.
Mhm, mhm. All right, so reflect when I look back on seeing you go through school, you were very active, not only with the fraternity, but just like in your presence. You were speaking at seminar, you were grasping any opportunity you could, I think, to just test your skills and to polish and to develop yourself. Can you kind of talk about today where you are at in society? Like, how are you playing in your community? How are you showing up in your community? Because I looked at you as somebody who, when you got to whichever community you were going to land, here it is, Durango, Colorado, you were going to be active. You weren't going to just have a business, but you were going to also be involved in your community. So, can you kind of talk about your engagement with your community, and also maybe your engagement with the chiropractic profession these days?
Sure. We have an amazing chiropractic community in Durango. I'm really just so grateful of that. I just had a chiropractic friend visit from New Orleans, and he was just saying, "Wow, you're so lucky because I don't necessarily have this where I'm at." And I do feel so fortunate to have that. It's very important for me to have other chiropractors that I connect with, just because there's a shared view that a lot of people don't get, especially now with this whole stuff that's going on, and fear-based stuff. So many people don't get it like chiropractors do, and so for me, it's really important to be surrounded by those types of people. I do like kind of a lot of um, shamanic type ceremonies. There's a lot of kind of native people in the area that do these amazing fire ceremonies, and I go to those regularly. I meet with groups of men around the fire and just kind of reconnect, and that's so important for me, to just do have some sort of ritual, meditation, getting outside, moving. um,
Mhm.
it really is important to me. And so how I'm really excited about getting involved right now is, kind of like what you're doing with these interviews. I'm starting to interview people in the community that are doing exciting things. So
Mhm.
last week I interviewed this woman who worked with Joe Dispenza, and she helped develop some of the curriculum with Joe Dispenza, and she's an amazing therapist and has worked with these incredible people. And so I was able to kind of pull out what she is doing in the world that's exciting, because people aren't hearing that narrative of like the good that's going on in the world. They're just hearing the repetition of how many people are dying, how many people are sick, how many people are blah blah blah. You name
Mhm.
it.
Mhm.
Terrible things are going on in the world. I mean, unfortunately, watching the news is just so, it just it's about, spiking our emotions and getting a emotional reaction from us, and it's not super healthy, unfortunately. But
Mhm.
so that so I kind of teamed up with a bunch of natural practitioners in Durango to kind of start this community called Rise Wellbeing. And so from that, we're trying to interview people and put that onto YouTube, but it's really fun because people are sharing their life journey. You know, like I interviewed another guy who he's a chiropractor. His name is Tom Garcia, and he has since retired from chiropractic, but now he's doing these kind of native fire ceremonies that he is, you know, basically bringing people into the fire and into doing prayers around the fire and reconnecting around the fire in this very primal way that is very cool. And then so it's really exciting to kind of hear what's happening in the community, and I'm excited to be doing that, and that's one of the ways that I'm getting involved in the community.
Mm-hmm. Right on, brother. So I just want to kind of shift the conversation right now to you just kind of looking at the chiropractic profession and maybe just expressing some hope for the direction that it's heading, and what's possible, or maybe some projects that you would like to see sprout up in the profession as it continues to move forward. Do you have any ideas, any creative ideas on things that you would like to see continue to develop or begin to develop within the profession, to make it stronger, to make it more connected, just to improve it or to build upon that which has come before?
Well, I think what you're doing with this pre-chiropractic, I think I'd love to see kind of more interaction between young people that are coming into chiropractic that are like excited about chiropractic, tying in with existing chiropractors, and having you know, like kind of vibrant communities. Just moving out of the sun a little bit. Vibrant communities around, you know, supporting each other, because you know, those young people coming into chiropractic and people that have been chiropractors can both learn from each other, and you know, teaching is an amazing way to kind of like to share, and also learning, asking questions, you know, reading. You're also sharing that information with the community, and it never really stops with chiropractic. You know, you're always learning, you're always growing, and I think just never forget that you, even if you haven't started school, you still have so much knowledge. You still have so much intuition about the body. And so trust that intuition, trust your knowledge, be a leader even then. Like decide, I'm going to be an expert and a leader in the human body and the power of the human body, to and the amazing things it can do. I mean, look at what Wim Hof has done. Wim Hof has basically started studying the body and what's possible with the body. I mean, he climbed Everest in his underwear and some hiking boots, and he's just done these amazing things. And we can do that at any time in life. We can test these things. Joe Dispenza also, he's studying, you know, these small changes that happen in the body with meditation. We can do that. I mean, we can, you know, now with, you know, the pulse oximeter with, you know, heart rate variability. I mean, these little instruments, you can test how these changes happen in the body. So I would love to see, you know, like some of those pre-chiro people or people in school, you know, working with chiropractors to, you know, help write case studies and write down some of the stories, you know, and they can help chiropractors do that. Or, you know, because a lot of chiropractors maybe are busy in their day to day, but they could, you know, so I'd love to see that union between the chiropractic community and support of the chiropractic community, and us basically supporting each other in all areas, and becoming, you know, so financially successful that because we're making such a difference in the world. You know, I think every chiropractor should be so financially solid because we're providing this amazing service to the world. And coming out of school, you want to give chiropractic for free to everyone, and that's awesome. But it's also the journey of stepping into your power and the value of what we do, and that can take a while. But start practicing that value now, that you can provide value to the world, even if it's, hey, you know, I am a student on health, you know, I'm going to give, you know, a 10-minute or 15-minute call, and, just start whatever you want to do, start kind of doing it now, because there's so many avenues to do that. Start practicing the kind of doctor that you want to be,
Mm-hmm.
even before you're in school, while you're in school. Obviously do that within some guidelines, but
Mm-hmm.
uh, I think the quicker you start practicing that person that you want to be, the better. And I think what I am working with is, just the discipline in practice. I've always been someone who has kind of been, very flexible and kind of able to kind of move around. But I'm noticing in practice, the discipline is really important. And, the practicing of how I communicate with patients, what the flow is in the office. That's what I'm wanting to work on now, is like getting more disciplined about my time with my patients and their experience in the office, so that they can have kind of a really amazing experience with chiropractic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I thank you just for, like, keeping it real. This is obviously unscripted. We're just having a conversation. We're just trying to really explore different ideas, different concepts that are relevant to a prospective student, just to share, what's up for chiropractors, where are we coming from, what's on our mind. Um, yeah, I mean, we could keep talking for a while. I just want to kind of be respectful of your time, and just kind of help keep building context in the eyes of, like, maybe a high school or a college student, of maybe just some advice for them on how to find their purpose, or how to get clear on whether or not chiropractic should be in strong consideration for them. Maybe something that they really prioritize as the primary choice for them, because I think that a lot of the times it's a fallback, and we're really trying to position it as the primary choice. If you want to make a difference, if you find the values and the principles of chiropractic to be in resonance with you. So I'm just curious how you would kind of just speak specifically to a student, and tell them, out of all the options out there, why chiropractic, and maybe just also endorse it based on your experience of what it's been like to be one.
I think spending time with people that are doing or living kind of a lifestyle that you want to live. Use them as example. Realize that that is possible, and focus your attention on that. Focus your vision on that. Start acting as that person in some way of, what would they be doing, and so like, if your person is like, I don't know, Joe Dispenza, or Wim Hof, or just go around a variety of different people and doctors, and see, how are you moved, and what and I think being exposed to that variety of kind of people and doctors is really powerful. Like, there are some doctors that are struggling. There's some doctors that are super successful. There's kind of like a whole gamut. And so really, like, go ask them, who would you talk to? Go read a book. And I mean, chiropractors are so accessible. You can go to their website, email them, say, hey, I'm thinking about becoming a chiropractor. I saw, someone who's recommended you to me, and I'd like to meet you or talk to you on the phone. I mean, most chiropractors will do that, and just keep pestering them. If they don't respond, give them a call. If they don't respond in the first email, like, that's okay. Just give them a call, email them again. Um, you know,
Mhm.
I think that exposure will be really, really powerful. And a chiropractor who loves what they're doing is going to want to share that. And so, and if they don't, like, they may be kind of just on a lull or something. I don't know. But
Mhm.
surround yourself by amazing people that are inspiring to you, books that are inspiring to you. Wake up early in the morning, um, read, meditate, get connected to yourself, because when we're in alignment, we feel good, we feel inspired. When you're not feeling inspired, you're out of alignment. So you just
Mhm.
figure out what you need to do to get back in alignment. Do things that inspire you and
Mhm.
create connection in your life, and you'll be on the path towards creating an awesome life. Like, and that starts now. Like, you can do that right now, wherever you are.
Mm. Dr. David, I want to thank you so much for sharing with the prospective students out there. I believe this conversation is going to be of value to them, especially when we really clip it and we start to see all the different topics we touched on and how we were able to really build on your experience and build off of just your reflection on the chiropractic journey that you've been on and continue to be on. Any parting words, any last words, any last message?
Um, so also, when you go to a chiropractor, ask if they'll adjust you. Ask if they'll, hey, can you just show me how you work on the body, and experience that. Starting to get adjusted, it's going to affect things. It's going to impact um, how in alignment you are, and that's really powerful. And for the people that have a difficult time with school, because I was one of those people, I had this mentor, Peter Morgan, who who is a real awesome chiropractor, and kind of this wild guy who has led some of the largest mission trips around the world. Um, you know, I was talking to him about this dyslexia and difficulty in testing, and he said, "Well, stop talking about it." And I said, "Well, that's crazy." Um, and and once I did that, once I stopped focusing my attention on that and just focused on how I actually was good at test taking, it was a drastic shift. So a lot of people coming back into school or starting chiropractic school, they are worried about that. And so really focus on the things that you want to create, and start even affirming that you are good at test taking, that you are just that information is just in there. And a lot of times we go into that sympathetic state of fight or flight, and then we forget everything. So the
Mhm.
more relaxed you can be, and the more you can be connected to that, that information, and that it's really going to help you. That's what really helped me, is just even that small mind shift of focusing on what I wanted to create in my life. And that is true of that little thing of the testing. And just also think of it as like a small step. The chiropractic school is just like the small hoop that you have to jump over, and think of it as small in comparison to the massive vision that you have for creating positive change in the world.
Mhm.
And it's going to make that thing, which maybe seems huge, much more attainable and achievable, in your larger vision of what you're going to do in the world. And um, start stepping into what you want to create in the world right now. Don't wait.
Mhm.